African.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show. This is The Couch. My name is Ama Pratt. It's, as always, a lovely Wednesday evening. Somebody has criticized me very recently and said every day is lovely. Well, yes. Every day is a lovely day, and today is no different. So yes, it's a lovely Wednesday evening, and you know that every Wednesday we have our book review. This week we are staying on a book that I did not choose. Actually, it's our first, on this book. Hilda chose this book. I'll get to Hilda in a minute. The title of the book is Ties That Tether. Ties That Tether. And it's a book by Jane Igharo. Jane Igharo. It's her first novel. This is, her first novel. It was released on the 29th of September 2020. So it's a very contemporary book, just about 2 years old. And so obviously it would have some very contemporary themes. And who else to have a conversation about this book with than the ever lovely Hilda. Oh, you just dropped the ball, Hilda.
No, I had to do that because I was picking some vibes from your intro. I'm like, hey, yo, this lady is setting me up. Hi, Ama.
With fire.
No, I had to drop it. I had to drop it because I don't want any fights.
No, we are going to have a fight. We are going to have a fight. It's been forever.
Every day is a beautiful day. You remember?
Every day is a beautiful day. But it's been a while, Hilda. Where have you been? Where have you been?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Where have you been?
I've been around. Working more in this Ghanaian economy that you can't just do one job. So you find yourself dabbling in a couple of things. And
it's good to have you back.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be
here. Please
here.
do the side hustles, but let's see you. Let's see you.
You want me to go there, Ama?
Let's not go there.
Okay.
So why this book, Hilda?
I actually did not choose this book.
Oh, really? Who chose it?
Ikwa did.
Oh, Ikwa did.
So I was hoping that she'll be here.
Right.
And she hung me high and dry. Right. Ikwa, wherever you are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she's writing exams, so and hopefully next week she'll join us to conclude. Hopefully.
I do hope that she is. I think it's one of the books that she likes.
I see.
Yeah.
It's not like an Ikwa book. This is not Ikwa's regular.
It's not.
But she likes the more technical, like really
literature.
Yes, she likes the more technical,
Yeah.
This strikes me as one of those. Anyway. So let's start from the beginning. Hilda, give us a story. What's the story?
Well, just to sum it up, it's a story about a lady who immigrated to Canada when she was 12, and she fell in love with a guy that she met. Yeah, you like love story. I was supposed to do this.
Yeah, I love
around
love.
some time when it was
hot and steamy.
Yeah. So she fell in love with a guy, and but then again she was sort of cheated by her mom and her values, because on her dad's deathbed she promised that being in Canada she was not going to lose sight, of her culture, which is the Edo culture of Nigeria. So she was going to hold on to it, and more importantly, she was going to marry an Edo man. And in the end, that promise was broken. So basically, that just sums up what the book is.
So essentially, it's about her navigating life in another country with another culture, and trying to find love in the process.
Well, I won't say she was trying to find love, because it was her mother setting her up on dates.
Right.
When you go deep into the book, you realize that this was somebody who sort of had her heart broken. And then
by Elijah.
Yes, by Elijah. Oh, somebody has done their homework. Ooh, we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. Yeah, so, yeah, by Elijah who took her virginity, unbeknown to all of us.
Right.
I mean, when the book started.
Right.
So it wasn't like she was looking for love. She just found love in a very unexpected place. And it tells us about that love, which I have my opinion on it, and I'm sure you have your opinion on it. And
we never agree.
We will never agree, but we'll agree to disagree. So I guess tonight is one of those nights that we will talk about that.
Okay, so here's what I'm taking from everything that you are saying, and I've written it down very boldly. It's this thing about love, right?
Yeah, there's love.
And if, because I said that, and this is my takeaway from the book. I thought that the book was chronicling her journey of love. You know, like how she eventually finds it. You know, looking for it and finds it. And you say that no, it's not about love. And it's very instructive, because I think you're absolutely right, which is problematic for me, because in introducing the book to me, you say to me that it's one of the ones that you love is about love. But you are right. Is this book about love, ultimately? Is it?
Yeah, ultimately, it's not about love. Ultimately, I would say, even though the book has been described as a romantic comedy,
right.
I would say ultimately it's about balance of cultures. It wasn't really about love, because you don't really see the love pouring through my kind of love. Maybe your kind of love is that spontaneous. Right. So maybe your kind of love you'll find in the book. That's why I said you will like it.
But even my kind of love, right? Because I find that the character's attitude to marriage is devoid of love as the central focus.
Exactly.
So when her mom is forcing her to find a man to marry, she's not concerned about finding somebody that she loves.
Exactly.
Right? And even herself, right? In all of her criticism of all the people that she went on all of these numerous dates with, she doesn't sort of focus on love as the major ingredient that she... So it's interesting to me that you say that it's not about... I kind of agree. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. I kind of agree that perhaps this may not be about
how
love.
we end this show today.
Interesting. So it's not about
it's
love.
Not, I think it's not about love.
What do you think it's about? Give me a theme.
Oh, I would say about intermarriages. Racial marriages. I would say it's about culture. Because you find a strong culture of Azere, who is a protagonist of the story.
I want you to list so we go through them one after the other.
Okay, so yeah.
Racial marriage, culture,
love, albeit. Then the title of the book, I think it's a whole theme on its own, because we find different ties, so different ties there. And then, of course, we can also speak about friendship. Yeah. Friendship.
Okay. So we'll get there in a minute. We'll get there in a minute. I mean, Ekwa obviously recommended the book and you read the book.
Yes.
Let's put the story away. Let's look at the book as a literary device. Thank you. What are your what are your takeaways from the book? It's her first book. Do you think she did great? Do you think she could have done better?
I love the fact that she put something together. You know why? Because it's like some of us, so many people have stories in their heads
that we never finish.
Right. You start writing, you feel that like, it's not perfect, but she took the bold step of putting it out. And it's her first book, and she's now being regarded as an author, which if you don't put it out, you wouldn't. So the criticisms and all those things, I'm sure, will be a good thing for her second book. And then I think now she has a third book coming out at the end of this month. So I think that she did a bold thing. It's not exactly a bad book, but it's not a great book either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I've been reading a lot of the reviews, and a lot of the reviews agree with you. A lot of them are saying that, well, it's not a terrible book.
It's not terrible.
But it could have been better. So let's look at the areas in which it could have been better.
Yeah. So when we say that it's not a great book, it's a book that like you can read maybe on a long journey. You are going from Accra to Kumasi. You know, you don't want to. You are in a bus or you are at the back seat of a vehicle, and you just want something to take you throughout the journey. This is a very easy book that can take you throughout the journey.
So you like your use of language?
Yeah, because it's easy. You know, it wasn't so technical. She didn't throw in too many jargons, even though she tried when she was talking about her work. You know, but I think that was so forced. And the part that we are saying is not great is that she didn't take time to build on the plot, you know, and the characters. The characters were not fully blown, you know, and mostly it was her narrating. Even when in some parts you find Raphael narrating the story, you find out that because she was the one writing, or Azere, the protagonist, was the one doing most of the narration, you find some sort of her voice in Raphael's voice. You don't find Raphael's voice being distinct in the book. So I felt that she could have done more with the characterization and the plot, you know. Because, for example, the book just starts with a romantic scene, and then there's a long flashback of a terrible date. It just didn't add up. The book also felt rushed.
No. Let's break that down.
Yeah.
You're not saying it properly. So there's the steamy scene that sets it's like the central plot of the whole book. Is that one night stand that she has with Raphael. That's the sort of, everything revolves around that activity.
Exactly.
And yet somehow she manages to interrupt that with a flashback.
Unnecessary flashback.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this one doesn't seem very plausible.
Yes. So why would you even do that? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we didn't get to see that part again. You know, like, so these people claim they are in love, they are attracted to each other and everything. They try something small in the office, but it still didn't match up.
It was dry.
It was very dry. It's like you raise people up like this and just...
It was dry. The romance could have been more romantic.
It could have been more romantic.
Right.
For me, because I also watch movies, I think that this is somebody who watches movies a lot. You know, so she was trying to write a book, but she was writing the book as if she was writing a movie.
I'll tell you something that somebody said to me very recently, a criticism that was made of my favorite author, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, of course. I think it was Professor Atabutrum. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning this. And we were having a conversation around some of Chimamanda's books, novels. And he said to me that his criticism of her is that sometimes she overwrites. Right? And I thought, I've never thought about that. How do you of course, he would know. He's an English professor, so he would obviously know what it means to overwrite. But it's interesting that you bring up this thing about wanting to do the movie sort of inferences and then sort of dragging out, dragging out a situation, dragging out a plot, things like that. It's an interesting observation.
Jane actually mirrored her book with Chimamanda's Americana. So
she said
she took inspiration from Chimamanda's Americana to write this book. So Chimamanda is actually somebody that she looks up to, and being like an immigrant and all that, like she really hails Chimamanda. So in her answering response to one of the reviews, she came up to say that, okay, this is me looking up to Chimamanda, reading her book Americana, taking inspiration from it, and then writing this book.
So here's what I think, right? So interracial relationships are commonplace if you're an immigrant.
Exactly.
Right. So to that extent, maybe parallels between Americana and, but Chimamanda's Americana, I find that the themes are...
That teacher.
Right? Like they are way more... No, I'm just saying, yeah, comparing. You brought it up.
No, that's what she said, because of what you said.
Okay, just because you don't want me to go into a tirade about Chimamanda, but I feel that Americana was way more fuller. There was a fuller story with like a broader, you know, than this one. This one is very streamlined.
Oh, but that's
if I can.
So we can let it slide.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I'm not saying it as a criticism at all.
Okay.
At all. Okay. So these are your observations about. There's one thing I wanted to read here. Kind of underlined it. I can't find it anymore. So, this is a phrase that I found in almost all the ones that I read. It says here, there was a lot of telling and not enough showing.
Yes,
in the book.
There was a lot of telling and not showing.
And not showing in the book.
Yes. So then it comes back to the whole movie thing, you know. Even though, like, in the movie, you'll be showing, so the people will be acting it out. So if they say she drinks water, right? In the movie, in the script, she drinks water, she's drinking the water on set. But in the book, you can't say she drinks water. What did the water do?
Right.
So basically, that's what it was. So for example, you find out that like her mom is setting her up on dates and all those things. And you don't have that interaction between mother and daughter.
Right.
So they are telling you what her mom does. How her mom will respond.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of allusions to what her mom would do, what her father would do, and we don't get to really see it, even though the characters were in the story.
Right. So, I mean, absolutely. And I think one of the joys of reading a book is being able to deduce things for yourself.
Yes.
Right.
So she keeps telling, she keeps telling us,
right. Don't tell it all.
Don't tell it all.
Don't tell it all.
You know, leave something for me to
lead me to a part.
Exactly.
Like lead me to a part. Let me be an active participant in the book that I'm reading.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing writing a book, is it, Hilda?
It's not. I mean, from the criticism, from the reviews that I read, I'm like, ooh. But yeah, it's always good.
But that's an art that Chimamanda masters beautifully, doesn't she?
Oh gosh, we're going there.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Right. No, because it's important that you're able to carry the.
So Chimamanda was able to carry you
along with you. And that's how comes the two of us can read a book.
Yeah.
And completely disagree about the book, even though we all agree about the black and white of the book.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because then it conveys different meanings.
Being able to,
you know,
see some things for ourselves, that weren't told us explicitly.
But this one, she does a lot of telling.
She's telling
throughout. She's telling throughout the whole.
She's telling us.
For example, you know, when she went on the date with this Edo man, that awful date, you know, you don't have to tell us the man was chewing loudly. You could have just said the man, used one word, was uncouth, or didn't present himself well in his, you know, his mannerisms, something. And then we could have figured it out. But she described chewing with all those things.
Let her describe. If the man is chewing, let her describe.
But you're right, it's not a movie.
I'll say something about that, you know, that date and the experience. You know, she writes, oh God, I can't find it. She writes about the fact that this man is not looking for a wife. You know, just to sort of have a conversation. Okay, so, or perhaps we'll do that when we get to the themes of the book. I thought it was very interesting, that date. And I thought that it's not an experience you need to go to Canada to have. You can have that experience right where you are. Anywhere you are, right where you are, can have that experience. Okay, so let's take the themes and then we'll come to characterization if you don't mind. Racial marriages.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always fantasized. I used to fantasize about, you know. Yeah. Because, you know, I grew up reading all the Harlequin, Mills and Boons, you know, Sweet Valley.
Nice.
You know, so you always find, you know, in them, like these strong men with long black hair coming to sweep people off their feet. Yeah. So, so it's like, okay, you know, growing up, I'm like, oh, I had to meet this, you know, white guy, not too white, you know, because they always have to have a tan.
They're always dark.
Yes.
The white guys in all of the books
with a tan.
Were dark. white guys.
Dark white guys.
Yeah.
You know, dark white.
Yeah.
Interesting. Dark white guys with some hair. You know, you meet and the person is not too poor, not too rich. Then you find out that the person is
actually very
rich. You know, so yeah. And then you get married, and then you produce different children. Yeah, but then again, these racial marriages, I think that we can even bring it home. Is it ethnic marriage? It's still a huge deal in this. What century are we in? 21st century. That's called. Yeah, it's still a huge deal that we still have certain tribes refusing or disallowing their offsprings to marry into certain tribes based on preconceived or some ancient things. But then again, when you look at all that, it boils down to one thing: fear. Fear that you forget where you are coming from,
who you are.
You know, you forget, you know, the little things, the little values, you know, that people hold dear. So it's underlying in it all that is fear. That's why most people will prevent their children or offspring from mingling or coupling with people from other races or other ethnic backgrounds.
I think that also is also a fear of just change, isn't it?
Is it really about change?
I would say so, because if it's one ethnicity and if it's us, we can perpetuate what we've always known and you know, sort of live in our culture, do things that we've always done.
Yeah.
But if there's that interracial, you know, marriage, for instance, I'm worried about my grandchild. Will my grandchild still speak my language? Or will my grandchild speak another language? In some instances, will my grandchild continue to be Christian, Muslim? You know, my religion is something else. So I think that is also a fear of change, you know, and having to accommodate, you know, a new way of doing things that has never been explored, you know,
but it is a big deal. And change itself is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's necessary, but it's not easy. And sometimes I'm forced to kind of like agree, you know, with some of the fears that people have, whether the language will be spoken, especially with the language, whether the language will be spoken, whether certain things, you know, mainly it's about the language.
Right. And in this instance, it's very tricky because you have a Nigerian Canadian on one hand, and then you have a Spanish Canadian on the other hand. Now, these are two very strong cultures. Had it been Nigerian Canadian, it can be excused, because you know that, or perhaps Nigerian British, you know, it's just one language, not that much culture, you know. So the Nigerian influence would then sort of how do I say this? It won't be that much of a clash of
cultures.
Yes, but the Spanish people are just as cultural as Nigerians.
Yeah.
So this one is a real clash. This is going to be like a major clash.
And there was some semblance of it, you know, when Raphael's mom came and then the baby, and they were talking about the baby names and all that, and she goes into herself and is like, hey, is this what my father was talking about and everything? But yeah, because we don't like change. You know, we always claim that we are one people and everything, but one way or the other, we still want to hold on to something that is normal, you know, so that at least it doesn't distort our thinking or our worldviews or our... But we can't live like that, especially when we are opening up and bringing other people in, you know. So we can't always live like that. And what is even culture nowadays? How can we really define culture nowadays? It's about the food, it's about the people, it's about the way we dress, the music. But now you find out that all that is being adulterated one way or the other. So there's nobody who can say that I am really holding on to my roots. One way or the other, it's been influenced through colonization. It's been influenced through schooling, education. It's been influenced through religion. So really, we just have to embrace change one way or the other. So long as you don't lose yourself in the process, I think that's the most important thing.
Right. And you're right about the culture thing. I mean, right now, over here in Ghana, we are having Halloween parties, are we not?
Yeah.
We're having Halloween parties in Ghana.
We are having bachelorette.
Imagine.
We are having what? Hen nights and what? Those
baby
things.
shower.
Baby shower.
Right.
We even have 1 week for funeral and things that didn't used to exist. It's going
now we are
across.
spraying money.
We are spraying money at our events.
Right.
So you can't really say that who is really holding on to that culture.
A lot of cultural appropriation is going on, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, some of it good, but some of it too not so good. Unnecessary.
Like this spraying of money, and I find it's very unnecessary.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm using poverty to talk rubbish, but yeah.
It's not poverty to talk rubbish. But I got to know that those who actually were spraying money, they don't really spray the actual money.
Really?
It's something that they spray that looks like money, and then you get the money back.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody, this culture thing. You know, I met this Nigerian woman who was saying that really it's not spraying the real money.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Because they'll be stepping on it, dancing on it. And every time I look at this, I'm just like, why are these people making the money dirty? Like, why are you making the money dirty? Because I like mint. I like money to look neat.
It has to look neat and smell good.
And smell good, right? Anyway.
I just took me back to one funny comedy I watched.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Ibu or something that he was living in poverty, and then he always goes to see this rich man having parties. And then he decided that, okay, he together with his children will put gum under their feet. Will put gum under their feet, and then they'll go and then they'll dance, step for the money. Then he'll come, remove it, so he was caught.
Of course he was caught.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you are really spraying money, I'm sure people also will be there saying, hey.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Now let's look at. So I think that conversation has already taken us into the issue of culture, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that she treats culture well.
Oh yeah.
In the book,
I think so. That was the only part that she did so well.
She did well.
Letting us know how distinct their food is. You know, how their men behave and all that. I think she did well with that part. That's the only part that's I think she did well.
She gets an A++++. Now let's talk about love as a theme.
So love as a theme. As I said, it's not really love. Because you don't really. The only part that I saw that a semblance of the love is the Elijah breaking her heart. That part that was told, you know, because much as she's now found Raphael. No, Ama, these were teenagers at a camp, which unusual places, the Bible camp. They get together and they break virginity at
the Bible camp.
Very interesting.
Very telling.
Very telling. Very telling. But you know, these were people, like two people who obviously felt something for each other. And the fact that it affected her and only her sister knew, and then I think her cousin also knew about it, and they kept, you know, the guy just vanished, didn't reach out because of course he's pursuing other things. He had to go to medical school and become a doctor and all that, and so he felt that no, I have to cut this thing. But you see that when he came back, you know, if she wasn't pregnant, if the character wasn't pregnant, I felt that she might have ended up with him because, of course, they had something in the past. Number one. Number two, he was an Edo man, and it fits perfectly within the listing. So they could have tried to make it work. I would have wanted to see that part, you know.
She should have elaborated
more on that. Now, the last part with Raphael, it was more of an infatuation to me, you know. It didn't blossom. It didn't blossom. It was more like, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, we can't have each other because of some ties that are holding us back and limiting our movements. But we can see, you know, we are eyeing each other from different parts of the room, you know, and all that. Then she finds out she's pregnant, and because of that, they have to sort of like come together and all that. So it was not full-blown love, you know. They didn't get to really talk, like, you know, have deep conversations and express their true feelings towards each other. It was like, oh, I know that kind of love. I feel that it's not the one that you and I will agree is love. Or
I surprisingly today I kind of agree with you.
Agree with me?
Yeah, I do.
I'm less close.
I just surprise I agree with you, because this love, like you're saying, it doesn't blossom.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't sort of develop. It doesn't become something deep.
Yeah.
We don't even see the. I mean, so what is constituting this love? Because love can't be just about physical attraction.
Exactly. Because if it's just physical attraction, if the attraction is no more there, then what?
I'm sure then half the men in the world love all the women in the world.
Yeah.
If it's just about physical attraction.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So you're absolutely right. We do not see deep friendship or, you know, yeah, you're right.
You don't see anything like that.
Right. It's just steamy hot attraction. Which is good and nice.
Yeah, it is to some extent.
Right.
It is good to some extent.
But to constitute love, I think some ingredients were missing. But then let's have this conversation. Wouldn't this be some people's reality, right? Where because of A, B, or C, love is not allowed to blossom.
Where the A, B, or C means?
It could be a number of reasons. In this instance, it's because of a mom, you know, and culture and all of these things. But in some other instances, it could be distance, right? It could be distance. It could be sort of class, you know, where she's rich, he's poor, or she's poor, he's rich, or something like that, or anything. And people are fixated in the love of it has to work, and are not given a chance to go beyond that. End up married, get into the marriage, and suddenly are discovering, you know, that no, this is not it. And then get into trouble. I'm saying this because I had a conversation, I think last week, with contestants. No, actually no, they call them delegates.
Okay.
Delegates of, is it Miss Modest? One of these pageants, Miss Modest. And the conversation kind of went into those areas, the love areas. And I remember telling them that in a relationship, like, give yourself time. Be conscious about getting to know the person. Like, consciously try to get to know the person. Navigate tough situations. Navigate conflict. Navigate sorrow if you can. You know, like, have a full story, a full blossomed, you know, where you know exactly what you are in.
It's not even possible, Amma.
It is possible.
How? For long? How long? Somebody will ask you for how long. Are you going to have this love conversation or love encounter for how long? What will be the ideal length of time?
It's not even about length of time. It's about, first of all, being conscious about the need to let your love grow and be a fully matured human being before you make any commitments. But then it's also about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you know, in some way. Because it's the only way you would allow that love to grow.
So, do people even go on dates in Ghana? I just want to know. I mean, do people know what going on a date is? I mean, or we just meet somebody and then we say, oh, I'm interested in you, or you think that we are giving each other vibes. we feel something, and then we just assume that we are going out?
I think that in Ghana we tick boxes, right? So I meet this person and I have a list. So first of all, he must be educated, tick, right? He must have a job, tick. He must have a car, tick. He must live on his own, not with parents, tick. So he must have some nice parents, tick, right? So I think that what we do is we tick boxes.
Individually.
We tick boxes. Once we meet somebody, we start doing that, you know, and once the person sort of ticks a lot of our boxes, then he's suitable, and then we take it to the next step. I honestly think that's what we do. And so I think that the conversation around love and a relationship that is bonded, like having a bond that is unbreakable, we tend to sort of downplay how important that is. And I think that sometimes that's where we get it wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right.
I totally agree, because you find people just jumping, you know, and as you're saying, it's not really with the length of time,
No, it's not.
but it's the conscious effort.
Right.
And you know, for some time I've had so many, I don't subscribe to that, so issuing a disclaimer, anybody who wants to come for me can come for me. So many people say that, oh, okay, so if the man is not proposing to you, go and propose to the man, and because you are interested, what at all are you waiting for?
What a man can
What
do,
a man can do,
I believe that strongly.
I believe that.
Right.
But then again, if somebody is not proposing to me, I assume that we are not on the same page. That is me.
He doesn't want to propose.
Or the person doesn't want to propose. So
Simple.
why do you want to go
And the
propose
person
to
who doesn't want to propose to me is not one that I want to propose to.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but I don't know if you've had it. It's like, oh, if you get the ring, you to go ahead and propose. Maybe he can't. But if I've given you all the cues and you're not getting it, that means that we are not on the same page.
Because Hilda, let's be truthful with ourselves. The actual proposing it's something that happens after two people have unconsciously agreed to get married. We don't ever talk about that. The proposal may be surprising or shocking in the moment, in that we didn't plan for it to happen today and right now. But I think that before we get there, the two of us know that we agree that we are going to get married. We've had conversations around it before. I don't know anybody who can genuinely say that did not expect it at all. That would be shocking for me.
That is the part that they are asking people that
if
would be
the very shocking for me.
The people are not getting there, take them there.
No. Because before we get there, we must have had conversations around, oh, should we take this relationship to the next step? How do you really feel about me? How do we,
people are not
if we should get married, you know, how many kids are we having? So all of these conversations are part of the bonding of the relationship, you know. So before he pops out the ring, yes, it is surprising to the extent that you did not expect it today, right now, in this hotel or in this restaurant or whatever. But you know, you have agreed to this taking of this relationship to the next step already. So when somebody says he's not proposing, so go and propose, we are not there yet in our relationship.
So that means that people are not there yet. So they shouldn't go around it. But we've also seen some proposals, as you're saying, if that's the case, those proposals that happen at the malls and things that have gone wrong, where people are like, hey, yo, like, chill, we are not there yet.
Be chilling
can you, you know, can you take, like, go back one step, you know? So then that means that people are not really having that conversation. And I think that is wrong.
But if you're a relationship without a conversation?
Yes, you should be able to have the conversation. There should be an asking. There should be an understanding. We should all be on the same page, or seem to be on the same page at some point. But if you don't discuss it and then we just assume, you know, people just assume that, okay, because we spend so much time together, because we are this, that means that automatically we are on the same page. This is leading to marriage. For all you know, this is just deep friendship. And that's okay. So people should be able to separate deep friendships from something that they think is
as you're having this conversation, a very romantic, in me is shouting at me that it's also possible to just bring it up as a gesture of romance, right? But then what's more romantic than two people that can talk about everything and agree on all the details?
We're saying this now because you and I have been in this marriage thing for a while. So I'm sure when we were younger and not married, we wouldn't be talking the same, because we know that now marriage is not just about, hanky-panky. It's more like, it's about deep conversations. It's about planning together. It's about knowing, be on the same page, disagreeing, figuring things out. And even children are thrown into the balance, into the mix, then it becomes a whole different ball game. So you and I are speaking this way because we know what marriage is, and we know how to get into it. But I'm sure that, if we are, maybe
when the nose and bones were strong in us,
it wouldn't be the same way. So the love part did not really blossom in Igharo's book.
Right, it could have been handled better. Let's talk about ties. Let's start with the tie between Mother Azire and her mom, mother and daughter.
I found that very weird.
Oh, weird.
I found that very weird.
Explain weird.
I found that very weird because, this is a mother who we don't see. So for me, I was really looking for something. I thought that was the true story of Igharo that she was telling, but she was very quick to say that much as the relationship between the Azere and her mom in the book was chaotic, she had a very deep bond with her mother. The reason why I said I found it weird was because, when we have all these immigration things, usually it's the man that goes first. He goes to try and see whatever it is.
And then he counts for his family.
So it counts for his family. And I think that was the case for them as well. So this, the woman, you're trying to, you bond with your children. And she only had 2. You bond with your children, and then you try to, get them close to you. You're in a new country. They'll be exposed to so many things. You try as much as possible to be their friend. But this is a dictator sitting somewhere, and then she issues our command, and you're supposed to follow. Her sister, on the other hand, seemed to have found a way of navigating those commands. So I was very, is it because she was rather closer to her dad? That's how come she felt that she was being limited, by the promise that she made to the dad on her deathbed. So much that her mother is holding it to her. You know that thing?
Right.
That parents are there, and then one child holds one so dear. So they use that to tie you. That's how I see it. They don't have a relationship. So the mother is holding her own words that she promised to her father on his deathbed as a tie, to make sure that you don't do certain things, which I find very strange and weird.
Right. It was you're right. We had a little weird relationship, where the woman wants to sort of have her way by fire.
Everybody's afraid of her.
Right. Just wants to have her way.
Yeah.
Don't you think that it's because the writer chose to use her, to sort of what's the word? To represent some form of humor. And here, let's go back to social media and this very popular thing about African parents and their behavior. Don't you find that?
Yeah,
the character
it fell flat. I didn't find it humorous. Even though they tried, she'll come dressed, describing and of course telling too much of. But I didn't find that humorous. So the whole thing was supposed to be a rom-com, but.
It didn't do it for you. Now, here's my thing about that whole African parents versus, Western parents. I think that narrative has completely changed.
Yes.
And yet somehow we are insisting on perpetuating it on social media, where skit after skit is about, how a Nigerian mother would have reacted in this situation, and how a Ghanaian mother would, and how an American mom would react. Is that our reality today? I think not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Today's African mom is kissing their child. Today's African mom is telling their child, I love you. Today's African mom is a friend
exactly
of their child.
Exactly.
It's not, and forgive me, but I've never dealt with that kind of African parents. My parents are African, right? I've never had the kind of parent that doesn't listen, that doesn't communicate, that doesn't, you know. So I find that kind of narrative a little problematic, and I wish that as Africans we would insist on moving away from it.
Why must we continue like painting our parents, you know, like they are barbaric or they are so outmoded, they don't know what's up? It's wrong.
Right. Like you find a skit on social media, you know, of a situation, and everybody will come commenting, "You're lucky it's not a Ghanaian parent," or "You're lucky it's
I
not
find that problematic,
a Nigerian
I'm sure most
parent."
of those people commenting, their parents are not like that, but they're just commenting because they assume that that is how. Yes, of course, the African parents will shout. I will shout. I will shout. But at the same time, I'll give you a hug. I will give you your kisses, you know, because I insist on that as well. But that doesn't mean that I'm only going to shout when you do something wrong or this. You get it. Recently, I was watching a movie. I think it was a Spanish parent. And you know that thing that they said African parents will just grab a slipper and this Spanish
slap your face.
Parent was also carrying that slipper. So it's not just an African thing, but it's like, why do we hold on to all those negative things that really don't really describe us?
Even to take the conversation a notch higher, it's problematic parenting, right? Even to take the conversation a little, you know, it's not the kind of parenting that we want to glorify.
Yeah.
You see, this is not the kind of parenting that is aspirational. We want parenting that is more developed, more nuanced, you know, if that makes any sense. I've always agreed that the laziest thing to do with a child when they, you know, commit a mistake is to spank. Is to come down hard at them. To just take your hand and give this child a slap. That's the easiest thing to do. But to actually reason with this child and try to understand the reason for that behavior and try to sort of navigate the relationship in such a way that you can come from a place of understanding and be able to correct and even discipline. Now that's hard. And parenting is not a small people's job, is it? It's hard work.
It's hard work.
Right.
Well, it's hard work. I think that if you are not ready, don't go looking for, don't go producing children.
Right.
Because you see, I always tell my children that I'm raising the future generation. So whatever it is that I'm doing to them, whatever it is that I am saying to them, whatever it is that we are trying to do together, they should know that they are also going to be other, young as they are, going to be other people's what's it called, mothers and fathers in the future. You understand? So what parenting is hard work. It's not easy. You know, if it's just about producing and giving them food, then it will be a very easy thing to do. You just make sure that there's food available and then they eat and then that's it. But listening to them, spending time with them, you know, knowing that, especially when you have multiple children, knowing that each of your children are different. It's a full-time job.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, ties. We're talking about her ties with her mom. Both of us have expressed reservations around that relationship. You
Ties.
Know, and the need that it could have been.
Raphael and his mom as well.
Right, go there.
So Raphael also has that ties, but much as Azera and the mom looks antagonistic, there was this, you know, and then again, you know, the Spanish. So there's a loving,
very cultural,
yes, but she was more loving, worried about her son, wondering where he is. So they show that this is a woman that cares so much about the son and would drop everything to come to his aid and all that and all that and all that. But on the other side, they made Azera's mom look like somebody who would not
the caricature. One of the reviews said they made her the caricature of the story. Okay, now let's talk about friendships. The theme of friendship.
So you see, in the book, there's Christina.
Yes.
Azera's friend. Right. You know, who is also
an interracial.
And
baby.
She is the one that is like trying to be the voice of reasoning.
Right.
Throughout the book, you know, and she's the one that's, unfortunately, she's the only one that she gets to talk to about her true feelings, about meeting Raphael, about the one night stand and everything. And we don't find her, even though they work in the same office, we don't find her going about propagating somebody's truth. Like, you know, this is what happened. Hey, have you heard?
Oh, you mean she's not a concern? Okay.
Yeah,
right.
you know.
Feminist,
so
I didn't quite catch that.
I didn't want to come out later.
Right.
So you find it when even she was still worried, and Christina took her to her home to meet her parents so that she can have this experience, see how her parents, live with each other and have conversations with them, so that she will feel okay, that, okay, you're not really making such a bad decision if you end up with Raphael. And I think that's what friendship should be about. Yeah.
Right. And it was interesting that it was coming from her.
Yeah.
You know, giving her own identity, you know, and saying that do you, right? Do you,
Yeah.
do you. I think that we don't give our friends or people around us permission to be themselves enough. We don't.
We try to sometimes
put them in a
impose
box,
and put them in a
Right.
box. You're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to da-da-da. I was reading somewhere, why have I forgotten this lady's name? And one of these American pop stars, the young ones, and she was saying that her friends let her be. You know, they could just be in the room with her and she'll be crying, and everybody is just sitting, and nobody's trying to say stop crying, but they are just bringing tissue, you know, just cry. And then when they finish, then she's okay, do you want something? So she felt that her friends did not rush her process, you know, whatever she was going through, they didn't rush her through it. They allowed her time to go through it, and she felt that that's made her better. You understand? Because sometimes, you know, when people are going through stuff, we can be so opinionated and judgmental. And we're like, oh, be done already. If you love the guy, just go ahead, you know. Just, what at all? But this is Azare trying to, obviously she respects her mother. So she's trying so much not to disrespect her mother. And then at the same time, she's trying to hold on to the father's value. So it takes somebody who understands that, let this person take their own time to process everything and be okay, you know, to be a good friend. And I think Christina did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, for me, and I've said this, you know, on this show, I think a week or 2 weeks ago, this thing about, and I find that so true. People give opinions, give advice, you know, based on their reality and their truth. So because she herself was coming from an interracial family, it would have been so easy for her to say, go with Raphael, because that's her truth, right? It would have been so easy for her to insist that do this because, you know, this is what
it's okay.
This is what
like,
works
look at
for me.
Look at me. My
and I find that sometimes that kind of advice is not even to your benefit, the one who's receiving the advice, or it's not being given for you.
Yeah,
it's for my benefit. It's my truth and my projection of, you know. So I'm the one that benefits from the advice that I'm giving you, and it's the most difficult thing to discern, first of all, in human relationships, because we come across it in varied forms all the time. Like you'd have a friend who is saying to a friend, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing my masters," right? And the friend will say, "Oh no, not now. Work a little bit, make some money first," because she is not ready to do her masters, and she's not ready for your decision to do your masters to reflect badly on her.
Yeah.
Right?
So hold on.
Hold
we
on.
Are all ready to
then
do
we
masters.
can go and do masters. Meanwhile, perhaps this is the perfect time for you. A year or two might not work for you. Yeah. I mean, I could give a countless example.
When I was watching a small skit,
right,
and this thing also happened, you know, relationship advice.
Right.
So there's this lady who was going out with this guy who was very smallish, you know, seemed unassuming, and then she had this friend who kept nagging her. Look at you, you fine babe, why are you with this guy? Hey, you have to level up. Long story short, one day the guy was late in picking them up because his car broke down. So you have to end this relationship right now. Why? You have to look for a bigger man. If he was masculine, he would have fixed the car. All those things. And then it is 6 months down the line, this same friend brings a wedding invitation to the friend who has ended the relationship. And the friend is like, oh, but you were not going out. You didn't have anybody in your life. Where is this coming from? He said, oh, I found somebody, oh, by God's grace. It's God's doing. Lady opens the invite, and it's the man that this lady was criticizing and asking her friend to leave, that is getting married to this friend.
The same short and muscular man.
The
man that didn't.
The man that can't change a car tie, and the man was too smallish. He's not a man, and this thing. And the lady is like, "Are you not the same person who was saying this guy?" And she goes like, "Oh, it is God's doing. No, 6 months ago, if you had told me that I'll end up with this, but what would I do with this one? Look at, he's so smallish. But God says this is the man for you." I was just laughing because it sounded so silly, but that's it. I said, "Oh, so I want you to be my one of my bridesmaids. Can you buy the ashrebi?" I said, "Are you serious? My man?" He said, "No, don't take it that way. It's not your man. It was not God's.
It wasn't ordained.
Ordained. This is ordained for me." So sometimes people just project because they see something that you have that maybe they want or they don't have, and then they feel like, okay, let's all be on the same page. So they're not
I'm not in a relationship.
Why should
you be in a relationship?
In a relationship. So they give those unsolicited advice, and people foolishly take it.
Right.
And this has happened so many times. Say, "Obia's your big girl,"
right.
But
it
happens.
There's another example that I have. So we are having dinner, a group of friends, and one male, one guy is just wife bashing, like consistently wife bashing, and women are like this, and wives are like that, and women are like this, and wives are like that, consistently throughout the conversation. I'm looking at him, and this is what I'm trying to figure out. I can tell immediately that he's not in a happy marriage. It's clear to me immediately, right? But in the moment, I'm unable to tell, what it is. But by the time the evening ends, I figure out that this is probably somebody in a marriage with somebody that when he got married to was okay, but he feels he has outgrown. Yeah. That's the way I figured that hope. And I just kept praying and hoping that he did not have any influence on the other males in the room.
He did.
And that somehow they could deduce for themselves that he's just projecting. This is not a reflection of their wives, but it's just a reflection not even of his wife, but his own issues, like his personal issues that he's not unable to confront and unable to deal with.
If you go deep down, somebody took it as cast in stone.
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sad, but that happens. And the sad part of what you just narrated is that maybe the person had just even watched a sad movie and was just narrating it as if it's real. And in his home, he has a happy marriage. It could be.
Oh, no, this one was very particular about wives and how terrible wives are.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Consistently.
Like...
And in the beginning, it sounded like a joke. So others were also giving examples of their own wives in similar instances that he was narrating, like, "Oh, these women, can you imagine last time my wife don't mind them." That's what I say, "Hey, Miss, my wife did this." So, and I just sit down watching them, like, and I realized that no, it's deeper than, that. It just kept deteriorating. And here's what I also feared, that there'll be one man in there who has an amazing wife.
Yeah.
And would somehow imbibe all of this man's own, issues and his own, and take it home.
Yeah, it will happen. Unconsciously, he has sown wild oats. Unconsciously.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that would have to do with this issue of ties and also this issue of friendship. I think they were...
Oh, and the friendship between
Right.
her and her sister too.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think that most of the reviews sort of love the way that the sister's character is more fully developed than even her own character. That takes us straight into characterization. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I didn't have a favorite character.
You like this too much. Let me use the literal, you like this too much, Hilda. Pick one. Who is your favorite character?
Speak it in the language that you want to speak. We are on Pan-African TV. And say, go there. No, but
who's your favorite character?
Let me deflect.
Don't deflect. Well, I like Raphael, right? In that from the get-go, and this is something that also comes up in the reviews. From the get-go, he knows what he likes. He knows that he likes this girl, and he goes and he gets her. I like guys who know what they want when they see a babe, and they go and they get her. I like it. It's romantic to the high heavens. Okay. It's just because, I mean, averagely, guys don't seem to know what they want. They like Hilda, they like Akosia, they like Adjoa, they like everything, right? So I love to see a man who knows what he wants, who sees what he wants, goes after what he wants. And, I think it's the most romantic thing ever. Only because of that, I would choose Raphael. Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
Only because of that. Only because of that. Only because of that. I mean, what's better than that? Because we say love, 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 but really, isn't love just a commitment? Isn't it a decision to say that this is it? Wouldn't that be all there is to love? Certainly, it can't be looks, because everybody is beautiful in their own way.
But there has to
and
be some
even
attraction.
if no, let's even assume that you like skinny girls, right? You will meet other skinny girls in variations that might be more appealing than the one you are with, right? Let's say you like curvy women. You will meet other curvy women, perhaps curvier than the one that you are with. Let's say you like intelligence. Are you telling me that you won't find another human being that is just as intelligent or perhaps even more intelligent than the one you are with? So this whole, for me, I think that love, 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 love boils down to a decision. This is it. And a commitment to that decision that you have made and sticking it out. And so when I find somebody who is sort of situated and is solid in that way, ooh, yeah.
So, what's up with those who
that's
say,
my person. That's my person.
Who say, I love you, but I like somebody else?
That's rubbish.
Why is that rubbish?
That's, actually, no, let me speak Spanish. That's tantareas.
Oh, what? I don't know that. I don't know that. Yeah,
That's absolute tantareas. To speak a little bit of Raphael's language.
No, but Raphael was very likable in the book.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for somebody who came out, what was there not to like about Raphael?
Yeah.
Rich man, didn't have any wife hidden, his wife was dead.
No, was God, I can't believe you just his wife was dead.
He was a widow who was grieving,
and
then he finds somebody, and because he's a one-man man, so he's
one-woman man.
A one-woman man, sorry, pardon my French. One-woman man, he finds one person, and then he was looking for her in the whole of Toronto, finds her in the same office, and decides that, okay.
It's incredibly romantic.
What's incredibly romantic about it?
The man went looking for the girl. Like, he went looking for the girl.
He's grieving.
And he was in love with the girl.
He was not in love. He just felt responsible. He had to be responsible. There was a damsel in distress. And then he took advantage of the damsel.
No, I just have to put it on record that I completely disagree with you about that. Just to put it on record.
Damsel in distress. He could have just had drinks with the lady and just ended up in the hotel room.
No, that was...
Who does that?
No, Hilda. That was mutual. That was hot, steamy, mutual attraction. Please, you can't fault anybody for that.
I'm not faulting. But the way you were painting him like he was a saint, I'm just painting
Wait,
the other
wait,
part too.
wait,
They're
wait.
painting Raphael like he's some saint.
No,
you know?
wait. Are we saying hot and steamy is a bad thing?
It's not bad.
So
I'm
we're
just
from the
saying that
saints.
he's not a saint.
He is a saint. He's a hot and steamy saint. Like, what are you telling me?
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a hot
A hot
and
and
steamy
steamy
saint. Like, what are you saying?
Come on. Hot and steamy saint.
Yeah, very hot
Oh my
and
gosh.
steamy saint.
The angels in heaven will be very happy with you. Hot and steamy saint. Let's agree on that one. I don't want to talk about
No, don't talk. Don't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an important, aspect of
who
adult
takes off his
relationships.
shirt and goes to mow the lawn in his mother-in-law's house.
Yes, it's hot.
Hot and steamy.
Right. You want him to mow the lawn in a suit.
Mistaken for a gardener. Yeah.
Very hot,
Oh,
very
but
steamy.
Raphael is very
Yeah.
nice. Raphael is
Nice
very
guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. Okay, so that's my character. What's yours?
Oh, Elijah.
Why?
Elijah.
Why?
You asked me to pick a character. I'm just picking Elijah
Why?
to talk about Elijah.
The man left the girl.
The teenager left the girl. The man came back for the girl.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
Eh,
Whatever. The teenager left the teenager. I mean, come on, Hilda. That wasn't a nice thing to do.
Oh no, it wasn't a nice thing. You asked me. You are pushing me to pick a character, so I'm picking one I know you wouldn't like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because, I mean, a little bit of communication. You left this girl.
Yeah, because it wasn't as if like they were in a stone age
No,
or something. This book was set in
2020.
2020. So,
Right.
I mean, but we could blame it on COVID. For all you know, when he got to school, COVID happened.
Please, there's no COVID in this book.
No, I don't. COVID happened and he couldn't communicate. He was also stuck in the room and all that.
They were on
That's
lockdown.
cool. For all you know, he went to Ukraine or something and there was war. And yeah.
Okay. Right. Least favorite character. What's your least favorite character? I know who he's going to be.
Who?
The mom.
No, but you know, interestingly, it's not the mom for me.
Okay.
Because I felt that they could have done more with the character.
Right.
It's the uncle that's my least favorite. Yeah, the uncle that's my least favorite. Because you see, he also was in love with the mom, and they were doing their own things, and he couldn't bring everybody together. I felt that he was pictured, or he was written off like somebody who was supposed to be an authority figure, but he was not.
I mean,
holding the pieces
not
together.
to make excuses for him, but couldn't it simply be because of the fact that he had an amorous relationship with his dead brother's wife? Couldn't that be the reason why he couldn't exert
Yeah, so
that
that's
authority?
why he.
So
because
the
you are
guilt
supposed
of
to
that,
be-
right?
But even that, we got to know it at the
Right,
tail
because
end.
they were hiding it, were they not?
Yeah, but if you're hiding it and you're supposed to be an authority figure, at least listen to the children as well, you know. But it seems like he himself.
But you see, let's talk about this for a minute. Was that whole plot necessary in the book? Do you find that it was a necessary plot? Here's why. I think it is that incident that softens or thaws the mother's stance towards Azere,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, because Azere saw that, or because all of us get to know that, spoiler alert, because all of us get to know that, then suddenly she can't sit on her high moral,
And I thought
anymore.
it was very unnecessary.
But was it necessary? Exactly,
It
wasn't necessary.
I thought it was very, very unnecessary. Why will you project your mom like that? You know, they could have found a common ground to speak.
But
Azere could have been bolder. You are no longer in Nigeria. You are no longer timid. You were working in an advertising agency, creating adverts,
Top performing.
top performing
corporate lady.
Yeah, so with all that, and you can't even have a conversation with your mom, it was just not adding up.
But also, here's a criticism of both of us in this conversation that we are having. Characters in books do not necessarily have to be good, do they?
No.
They can be bad.
They can be bad.
They can be flawed.
Here
they can be good and bad.
Yes, but you see, when a character is not fully developed, you know, you make the character a caricature. That every reviewer is talking about it. It's not one review, you know, that's saying that this, but almost, I mean, over 80% of the reviews on this book is saying you projected this woman to be a caricature.
Yeah, they're saying she dehumanized that character.
And I don't think that she would have raised you. And especially when you just oppose it with her sister, who seems to be free, then I see that the character flaw is not with the mom, but rather with Azere. That's how I see it.
Right.
Because you have your own things that you feel you are keeping in your head. Because how can you be that high, you know, top performing somebody at 25 years and still be childish?
Right.
Or behaving childlike or childishly because you feel your mom will spank you. And then you go to work and then you are taking all these decisions. It doesn't matter.
And being the boss of that environment.
With a team under you and all those things.
Right. Now, is that not... And here's my question, right? My question fundamentally is that, is this criticism that all of us, including the reviewers of this book, are heaving on Jane Igharo, the author, is that not a reflection of our hypocrisy, societal hypocrisy? And I'll explain. I, again, had a conversation around Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Forgive me, it's my go-to reference. Most places that I end up in and I'm having conversations around books, somehow we end up always navigating towards her and her writings. Now, this particular person that I was talking to had serious criticisms against her for Americana. And she said, why are the women in the book so promiscuous? Right? And he was very upset about that. That why are her characters so promiscuous? Her characters are not ideal women. Her characters cheat on their partners. Her characters like to talk about sex and things like that. And here's what. The everyday people around us, do they not cheat on their partners? Today's woman, does she not cheat? Does she not like to have conversations about sex? Like, I mean, is it unthinkable that a widowed woman was having a sexual relationship with another man? Is it an unthinkable thing? Why do we sort of come hard on the author for having a character that is depicting, in my estimation, reality?
Well, you just asked a question. Is it unthinkable for a widowed woman to be having a relationship? It's not unthinkable. So if you make it seem like it's unthinkable, then we'll come hard at you. It's as simple as that. It's where we are now, where we feel that it's not unthinkable for a widowed woman to have an amorous relationship. So if you portray her to be the devil because she's having an amorous relationship because she's widowed, then we'll come hard at you for portraying that.
Oh, so you think that, right, okay, so you've turned the conversation on its head. You are saying that the outcry is not because of the relationship. It's rather because of the general depiction of the character.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a fair conversation to have.
It's not because of the relationship.
Right.
It's the depiction of the character.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And if, I mean, she was being true to self, which African child born bred with African values would dare enter parents' room without knocking?
But isn't that what we are already saying that we want to change?
No,
isn't
but
that the narrative?
Exactly. So if you have done away with the value that you've been trying to hold in the book all this while, you just did away with that value of the fact that you forgot that cultural value, that you can't enter your bedroom, your parents' bedroom without knocking and being asked in.
So for you, there had to be consistency.
Yes, there was no consistency. So that's why we will come hard on the author that there's no consistency in your writing.
In the cultural depictions in the book. Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes absolute sense. Okay. Let's go other characters.
Other characters. So there's this character I wanted to talk about, but I've forgotten his name. The cousin. I found we had to do that in the next sister, but he had a very interesting character as well. Now let's talk about the boss, which I've also forgotten his name, but team building in the workplace. What it leads to people needing to stay long hours to work on a project. What it leads to. But I like the boss for the fact that like she sees somebody who is that young and is able to give the person the opportunity. Usually you don't find that happening. So you find that most people, you have to rise through the ranks. They are not really looking at what you can do, what you can bring. They don't look at your skill set and then assign roles to you. But in this case, this is somebody who was coming from is it Spain or Italy or wherever he was coming from, and then he comes and he's supposed to be a top advertising guru, and then they identify this Azere as the person who is also good to work with this person to come up with a campaign that they've been trying to win for some time, and they were able to do it together. I think that's great leadership. It takes great leaders to identify talents and then also support them in making sure that they grow. So even though she was also giving excuses, which sometimes we tend to do, when you feel that like, oh, I'm not there yet, but it takes somebody who is not afraid of his own position to say that, hey, you can do it, and hands you that opportunity, and then you are able to shine. And in this case, they were able to do the campaign and it was successful. So I applaud such bosses, such people who are not afraid to lift their team up, to identify the talents, nurture them, and give them the opportunity to shine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We still have a few themes, that we can look at. We still have a few themes. We still have a few characters. We haven't even looked at the character Azere herself.
Oh, we haven't.
We haven't. I'm hoping that we can reserve that for next time.
You want us to do that?
Or you want us to conclude?
Oh, let's talk about.
We have a few minutes.
We can do that.
Okay,
we can talk about her.
Okay.
And then again, like I was saying, this is somebody whose character also was not fully developed. Her character as a high-powered executive and a timid daughter, it doesn't add up. But then again, also, we can make an excuse for her. Sometimes you have certain encounters at home that you dare not. That fear from childhood. It's been put in your mind so much that you say, hey, I dare not, cross this line with my mother or my father or this relative or that. So maybe I can excuse her on that, as a character, not the writing style, as a character. That maybe growing up, she went through certain things. And being the firstborn, firstborns are usually, we are just handed anything and everything. Yeah, I'm also a firstborn, So you sometimes you are forced to grow up too quickly, so you are not able to sort of like enjoy being a child, especially when people are moving. She had to take care of her younger sister and all that. So maybe she grew up too quickly, she was entrapped in that thing, and she's now living her childhood of the fear, that her mom put in her to put her on a right or straight path or something. I can give that excuse for Azere.
For me, I think it's also just the situation of people are different things at different times. Or people can be different people in different places.
Yeah.
So for instance, you find people talking about one person and they have totally different experiences with the same person. Like you wonder, are you talking about the same person that I know?
Multiple personality disorder?
Not multiple personality disorder, just different experiences with the same person. I have had people ask me, I didn't know you could talk.
You?
Me.
Hey.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's just because of perhaps the peculiarity of the experience that we had. maybe in that time, in that space, I did not set out to be anything apart from myself, but perhaps the environment, the circumstances, you know, of that moment did not let my full self show. There's that. There's that, where you have really no part to play in it. Let's classic example. Maybe you meet somebody in a work environment. Maybe the person is a service provider, say a customer service personnel, or yeah, exactly, maybe an air hostess, maybe a bank teller. I could give countless example. A receptionist, you know. It's very mechanical, the relationship the person can have with you.
But that's not a relationship.
Right, but in some people's minds, I know her.
No, you don't know me. You don't know me.
Right. In somebody's mind, I know her, but I worked with her for what, 2 years?
No.
Or for 2 years, I used to go to that office every day, so I know her.
No, you don't.
Right.
You know, I think that people should stop generalizing, you know, and putting people in boxes, you know, and then assuming that what you are seeing, you know, we that's because, like, most things, what you see is what you get.
I can't bring my crazy self to work.
No, it's a work environment. So I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, and then they had gone to get food from somewhere, and I just said, I was like, oh, I can do better. And he goes like, oh, so why don't you bring food from? I said, no, this is work. That is home. I can't bring... I can't.
I think you take your crazy self to work.
No, I don't take my crazy self. I said no, I can't do that. Like, there are two different things. You don't expect me to be cooking and coming because I bring food and then no. You're going to buy it. You're asking me if I can do better. I said yes, I can do better. I can't come and prove it to you. You get it? Like, it's unnecessary.
Right.
You understand? But if you had come to my home and you had brought food, and I say I can do better, then I can show you that I can do better. So it's work. How we relate in work is different. How we relate in home is different. How we relate in church is different. But one thing is that your true self shines through.
Right.
And your true self is not about whether you are quiet or you are talking. You know, even when you are quiet, your true self should be able to shine through.
Right.
Because you can't pretend forever.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh
you
no.
can't.
Oh no. And personally, I find that spaces that do not allow you to be your true self are not spaces that you can flourish in.
Yeah.
And I've had to make decisions simply based on that. So if I find myself in a space and I'm, you know, I think that all of us need to constantly be, you know, speaking with ourselves and doing a lot of introspection because growth is important and just, you know, being happy. We sort of take happiness for granted, but it's crucial to our well-being as human beings. So constantly, it's a question that I constantly ask.
Yeah.
Am I flourishing in this space? Am I happy? Am I my true self? You know, first of all, if you're not even allowed to be your true self, how can you flourish? How can you blossom? How can you develop into something better than what is? If even what is not being allowed to show through. So it's a question that I constantly ask. And every time I have found that the answer is not to my liking, I have to exit the space. Because then, what's the point?
Yeah. Ama, you are totally right. You know, I have had to ask myself, I think over the last 2 or 3 years, you know, and take certain decisions based on happiness. Because, you see, we tend to downplay, you know, and then especially when it involves, like, something that will bring money home.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely
and all that. And
absolutely
then it's like, oh, so why you're doing it is going to bring money home. But, like, I have to reevaluate.
It's a job. You don't have to be happy at a job.
No.
That's why it's a job.
But no, you know, and, like, especially when I have to take on, like, clients, like, I'm consulting for, if we don't gel, like, on the get-go, I will meet you, and I always say, if my spirit doesn't match with your spirit, there's no way, no matter how much is on offer on the table, but I'll just walk away. Because I would rather deal with somebody that I can have that cultural fit or mental fit with than to be in a place that I can't be myself.
Right. I think in 2010, I might be wrong, a couple of years back when I was active on Twitter, I'm not active on Twitter anymore. I'm not on Twitter actually anymore. But a couple of years back when I was active on Twitter, I remember one day waking up and just tweeting the whole day about fulfillment. I remember the first tweet said something around, I can imagine that right this minute, there are people sitting behind desks in suits that are dying, literally dying, you know. And it went on and on and on. I kept going on, and people kept retweeting and reading. I realized that, I'm really speaking a language that is resonating or resonating with a lot of people, because a lot of us are dying every day under the guise of a job. So we are dreading going there. We are dreading being in the space. We are dreading those human interactions that are killing us. And at the end of the day, I think the most important question is, to what end?
To what end?
For what? Can you do this for the rest of your life? And can you sacrifice yourself? And for what?
For what? So I think that people need to reevaluate your life. I mean, if you're watching us reevaluate your life, it's not an easy decision. Like, we can be sitting here and saying that,
it's not an easy decision. I took that decision.
Yes, it's not.
There were times when I thought about going back.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's not an easy decision. We're not saying rush into something.
No.
Really think about it.
Have some shock absorbers.
And then put in, you know, I think we spent a whole four episodes talking about being smart,
right?
With your
smart
finances,
woman,
and all that. So have some shock absorbers, you know, and all that, and then you'll be fine. It's not going to be easy. I mean, most of it you will think like, hey, I made a wrong decision, but
boy, did I make a bad decision.
Yeah, but when you re-evaluate, when you rethink, and then you have that deep conversation with yourself, when nobody is around, you know, you have to also drown out the noises. Because, of course, if you are going and all your people are working and maybe in between jobs and all that, and you don't really seem to have something going, and people are, you know, it makes you feel like, I wanted to use a fancy word, but we're on TV. You know, but reevaluate, rethink, and trust me, a few years down the line, you'll say this is the best decision ever. There is nothing that you can put in place of your happiness, your own personal fulfillment. There was this lady that I was listening to, and they're saying that everybody came on earth for a purpose. Right. Until you find that purpose, or you identify that purpose and walk in that purpose, then it's like you're just leaving. You know, you are just existing. That's why the little things tend to rub you off the wrong way. Yeah,
the wrong way. So our time is up, Hilda. It's always a pleasure having conversations with you. This has been Ties That Tether. That Tether. A book by Jane Igharo that we've been, reviewing. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that we've done justice to the book? Do you think that we should come back to the book? Tell us. Let us know on Facebook so that we know if we should do a part 2 of this review, or we can let it rest and look at another book. So you decide, you tell us. But definitely we will come your way again next week with another edition, of the review, the book review series on the couch. Hilda, thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you next week.
Hopefully we get to meet again.
Absolutely.
And this time you won't do what you...
Stop it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Culture is important. Preserving it, even more important.